We're now continuing with the what's called the Dvar Malchut, words of royalty. These are speeches that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave here in 1991, shortly before he had a stroke that rendered him mute, that he couldn't speak. So here the Rebbe is talking about this week's Torah portion with the scouts, that Moses sent in scouts to scout out the land of Israel, and it came out a terrible tragedy. And about 40 years later, Joshua did the same thing, and he sent also scouts. So the Rebbe explains that there's several differences between them. The Rebbe brings 6 differences between them. The main difference between them was that the scouts that Moses sent out were unsuccessful. They didn't succeed. In fact, they did exactly the opposite. They came back with a negative report, and because of that report, the Jewish people refused to go into the land of Israel. They refused to go into the land of Israel, exactly the opposite of what God wanted, and God got very angry and etc., which is not the case. The scouts, the spies more exactly, that Joshua sent in, there was only 2 of them, but they succeeded. Even though they didn't survey the whole land of Israel like the first ones did, right? And even though, and it doesn't even say who they were, right? It doesn't say who they were. There's explanations that says it was Pinchas, but nevertheless, but they succeeded. Says the Rebbe, the fact of the matter is the first spies that Moses sent in, they did not fail. They did not fail. Maybe they didn't do the job in a complete way, but what they did accomplish should not be ignored. They were the first Jews, as Jews, part of the Jewish people, to enter the land of Israel. What's the whole point of entering the land of Israel? I mean, why was it so important that Jews get Israel? God promised Abraham, you're going to get the land of Israel, the land of Canaan. Is going to be, what is so important about that? But I mean, it's really quite amazing. That's one of the reasons that I became a religious Jew. This is like more than 50 years ago, but nevertheless, I became a religious Jew because the whole entire, I read other books of other religions, and they're all talking about all sorts of rewards that you get. Most of them, especially the Western ones, you're going to go to heaven. You're going to go to heaven, they go to heaven. If you don't do what we say, you're going to go to hell and heaven and hell and hell and heaven. And that's what they're talking about, right? And the Eastern religions talk about levels of realization, of consciousness, of awareness, of etc. A connection, but it's all what you receive, or what you're going to get. What did God promise Abraham? What's the big promise that He promised Abraham? You're going to get the land of Israel. What, God is a real estate agent or something? What? That's the most important thing to God. And He figured this would somehow or other placate Abraham, that Abraham's going crazy, serving God, doing all these weird, incredible things. The whole world is against him. And God says, I'm going to give you the big prize. You're going to get the land of Israel. I mean, how long does a person live? And he's going to live in the land of Israel. A person dies, he goes to heaven. Maybe he'll be in heaven. Who knows, 1,000,000 years? Who knows what the other religions, what they think, what they're selling in any case, right? How long? It's a big deal about living in the land of Israel. What's such a big thing? And the fact is, Abraham didn't get it. He didn't get the land of Israel. And his son didn't get it, and his grandson didn't get it, and Moses didn't get it, the land of Israel. These are the first Jews that ever went into the land of Israel. What's so important about the land of Israel? Because the purpose of the Jews is to make this whole physical, mundane, crass, how do you say, the deceiving world into a holy place. Frustrating world. This physical world. Heaven is already holy. You don't have to have a Torah to tell us to go to heaven. And even more, leave the souls in heaven. What do you have to bring them down into this world for? It makes God sort of cruel a little bit. God put us into this world to watch us run around like little rats in a maze or something, see what we do. Right? It's not so. We're in this world in order to purify the world. And when that happens, that's infinitely higher and more real and gives God pleasure more than all the upper heavens. In this world, so to speak, in heavens we receive, but here we give to God. And the first people to do that were the spies, of Moses. They went into the land of Israel as Jews, as part of the people of Israel. First time it ever happened. And they began this whole idea of fixing up the world. Good, they didn't succeed 100%. 100%. They didn't succeed, right? 100%. But they began. And that's already a huge success. In even more details, there's two ways, or when I call it stages, Bishiluach HaMaraglim, in sending of these spies. Right over here, 1 second. Yeah. Shemistarfos, that they really join one the other, or mashlimos zelza. In other words, the spies that Moses sent that came back and seemingly were terribly unsuccessful, right? And God even wanted to said wipe out all the Jewish people, and Moses had to pray for them. And the fact of the matter is that they were step one. They had to be. And we can even go further and say that the reason that God got angry and said he wanted to wipe out the Jewish people because he wanted the prayers of Moshe. He wanted Moshe to convince him otherwise. He did this in order to arouse the deep love of Moshe for the Jewish people and the self-sacrifice. That was the title I put. If you see, I put up yesterday in the YouTube. I put up yesterday's class, and suddenly it popped into my mind the title. I'll make it even God cannot destroy the Jewish people. The Jewish people are infinite, right? Even if God decides he wants to destroy them, so to speak, he can't, because there's always going to be a Moses in the world that's going to arouse in God this essential, deep love of the Jewish people. Unconditional. That's the word I want. Shiluach HaMaraglim. Okay, so there's two steps to going into the land of Israel and taking over the land of Israel and purifying the whole world. Step number one, Shiluach HaMaraglim of Moses, that Moses sent 12 people, and the sending of the spies of Joshua 2. What are those two steps? And this is going to be relevant to our personal life. First of all, let's explain something. Why did they have to send 12 people, each one for his own tribe? I'm going to make this a little bit bigger or something. I don't know if this is going to improve. Maybe I got to get glasses instead of, 1 second, 1 minute. Can I do this? Excuse me 1 second. I just want to make this a little bigger. It's a little hard for me to read. Is this? No. I don't. Somewhere is supposed to pop up here a plus and a minus. Okay, forget it. Forget it. Let's just do what we can with what we have. Okay. They join. First of all, let's explain something. Why Moses had to send 12 scouts, each one from a different tribe. And we said before, it was in order that all of them should see all of the portions, all the 12 portions of Israel, they should see all of them together. But let's understand this in a little bit deeper way. The Fisha Eretz Israel, because the land of Israel was divided into 12 portions, corresponding to the 12 tribes of Israel. That was the 12 sons of Jacob, right? I share that Israel is Jacob. Jacob is 12 tribes of Jacob. I share that Kol Shevet, each and every tribe of the Jewish people, B'mesiloto Yaleh, will go in his own path. Shall Kol Shevet, that in each and every one of the tribes, the 12 tribes, Yesh, there is, Ofen Avodah Shalo, has his own way of serving God. They had different personalities and different ways of connecting to God. Some were more emotional, some were more in action, some were more intellectual. For instance, a chalukah klolis of the Jewish people, there is Yisachar v'Zevulun. Yisachar, it says, he used to sit and learn Torah, and Zvulun went out and made money. Yesh ve'oel v'bali esek. Some Jews are good at learning Torah and doing holy things, and others are good at businessmen. They're businessmen. Mari Torah, Mari of Dim Tovim. Everybody has to do both, right? It says that to be like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, just sit and learn Torah is not for the masses, but nevertheless, there's some people that they're really good at learning Torah. They really have a feeling for it, learning Torah or praying, and then there's others that they have a feeling of making money so you can give charity. Alter says similarly, all of the 12 tribes, each one had their own personality and their own connection to God. And fitting this, each one also had a different portion in the land of Israel, that refine that section that they're supposed to live in. This is relevant of this particular tribe. When you join all of the 12 tribes together, each one worked in his own area of the land of Israel that was fitting for him to refine. Like it says, Yachad Shivte Yisrael, when you unite all these together and you refine all these 12 portions of the land of Israel, then the whole land of Israel becomes pure, refined, holy. All of the details which are in it, which include all of the different aspects of the land, the Eretz Halazu, Tachtona, of this whole entire world. By refining the land of Israel, so automatically the whole world becomes refined. The whole entire world, Shenibra, which is created, the world was created for the sake of the Jews. What does it mean for the sake of the Jews? Not for the sake of the Jews to get pleasure from, for the sake of the Jews to fix. Kavan She'eretz Israel, since that the land of Israel, Koleles, the Yeshbo, is in it all of the other lands, like it says in the Midrash Chazal. According to this, we have to understand Hatam, the reason Shekol Echa, that each and every one of these 12 Shivtei Yisrael, just popped into my mind an example. I don't know, you'll have to see what this example is like. Let's say you have, right, the example, right, an instrument maker. He makes drums, he makes flutes, he makes clarinets, he makes trumpets, and he makes his tubas and pianos and violas, and he makes all these things, but nobody knows how to play them. Just made all these things. What are you making these things for? I don't know. It's an instruction book. I read this book, and I'm making this. I heard music once, and I really liked it. Someone said, you have to make these instruments. So I'm making them. I don't know what to play. I made all the instruments. I don't hear anything. One person stands up, and he takes a violin, and he starts to play. Right? Yasha Chayfetz. Oh, never heard such a thing. It draws my heart. I'm crying. I'm weeping. He took this little box with strings on it, and he starts to play. And then comes along another person, takes a trumpet, a great trumpet, Louis Armstrong, and he plays. Such a sound, I never can believe it, right? And another guy comes and he plays the viola, and another plays this. One person plays each one of these instruments. Suddenly, all of the instruments in the world have a purpose. All of a sudden, now I realize what you're supposed to do with the tuba, what you're supposed to do with the piano, with an oboe, with a bassoon. I realize what you're supposed to do, because certain people did the same thing. When the land of Israel is refined, and each area of the land of Israel has its own nature, and so therefore it's like taking the person who has a talent to play bassoon and put him in a bassoon, and the person that has a talent to play the kettle drums, he puts him in a kettle drum. Each area of the land of Israel was its particular instrument, but it had to be played. I'm making this up, but I think it's valid. It has to be played when the tribes purified their part of the land of Israel. That shows the whole world, what the whole world is created for. The whole world is created in order to show that there's a creator, to show what true life is, to show what true happiness is, to show how amazingly lucky and fortunate we are that God is creating us all the time and creating the world. And even more, they give us responsibility that we're supposed to use the world properly. That's supposed to be the idea of the Jews living in the land of Israel. According to this, now we can understand the inner reason why each one of the tribes, the heads of the tribes, went to survey the whole entire land. Right? When Moses sent his 12 scouts, he didn't say, okay, you guys scatter, each one go to his own area and scout it out and come back with directions. That way, each head of the tribe will, for 40 days, be able to look at his own portion. In fact, maybe it won't even take 40 days. You could do it even faster, right? Instead of taking 40 days and everybody going, all the 12 scouts going and surveying the whole land of Israel. So, why did the scout from the tribe of Reuven have to go into the area of Yehuda? Why? Just send the scout from Reuven to Reuven, send the scout from Yehuda to the area of Yehuda. You get it done quickly, right? In 1/12 of the time. Instead of taking 40 days, it'll take, what it is, 2 days, whatever it is, right? For 4 days. Right? It'll get it done quick. Why do they have to take 40 days and go around all together and everybody see everybody else's portion? Low rock, not everybody, they didn't see only their own portion. And especially it was already known which portion they were going to get from the blessings of Jacob. Jacob told each portion generally what the land was going to be. Elagam, Achalakim, the Sharshabatim, they had to see every one of the scouts had to see the areas which were going to be allocated to all the other 11 tribes that weren't even his. He wasn't going to live there. Why? Because each and every one of the tribes, each one of these tribes had a certain part of where he had to fix up. So what was the necessity that all of them had to go and see everybody else's? The explanation is very simple. Pu'ula, they're called, and see that the ability and the job of each head of their tribe to survey the whole entire land of Israel, even those parts of the land of Israel of the other tribes, is because ahavta l'recha kamocha, loving your neighbor, your fellow man as yourself. Since all the Jewish people are all mixed in together and they're all responsible for one another, they're all responsible and they're all mixed in together. Until Koma Achad, the Jews are like one person. Therefore, they had to be one unit and go around to see the whole entire land of Israel. Not that everybody just broke up and saw their own part. Then everybody thinks they're separate. No, they have to remember their unity all the time. And this idea of the unity of the Jewish people is very, very essential. Like to carry on my metaphor that I'm giving, like in an orchestra, if everybody's playing, beautiful music, but they're not playing together, it's terrible. And even deeper, by means of the unity of all the tribes of the Jewish people, which is mudgashes, which is stressed, and the fact that every single one of the heads of the tribes went to survey the whole entire land of Israel. By means of this makes a refinement of the land of Israel even higher. Why? Because it's not that everybody did his own job. Everybody joined together to do the job of every other person. Lioso mitzad al yadei, by means of the nalis yoso, because not just each Jew did his job, but all of the Jews did each and every job. This is a unity which is above any sort of division into 12 tribes. This is above any division, kafi, as it's drawn down to, in how it's drawn down into these divisions. In other words, again, God does not want us to lose our individuality. He wants us to utilize our individuality as part of the unit. The part of the unit, in this case, is the Jewish people. The Jewish people, their their unit is they're part of the creator of the universe. So the whole idea is by means of this unity of all the separate parts is a higher unity than if all the parts were separate on their own. Ashayach is the connection of the spies to the month of Sivan. That's this month. When did Moses send out these scouts? It was on the last day of Sivan, Chav Tes Sivan. When did they come back? It says they came back 40 days later. When was that day? Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, the days that 1,000 years later, whatever, the temples were going to be destroyed. First temple, second temple. So Moses sent out these scouts on the last day of Sivan. This is stressed also when we read what we're reading this week's Torah portion is always near the end of the month of Sivan. And Sivan is the month of the giving of the Torah. Okay, again, what's the Rebbe want to do over here? He's trying to point out the good, which was in this terrible episode in Jewish history. He's trying to show what the good of it was. One good thing is, like we said, that Jews, for the first time, went into the land of Israel. Another good thing is that they went in together. There was unity. They all went around together and saw the land of Israel. It says that briefly, Kalev separated. He went to the grave of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to pray. But generally speaking, they were all together. Yadu, it's known, Shabira Ha'olam, that the purification and the refinement of the world, Naaseh, is known, Naaseh is made, B'koach, potentially, by means of the service of the Jewish people in Torah. Or in the language of Kabbalah and Chassidut, B'chochma, es beriro. That the Jewish people refine the world with what's called Chochma. Chochma means, I want to call it the wisdom of God, the Torah and the commandments, the wisdom of the Torah. That's what refines the world, puts everything in its proper place. Yesh Lomar, we can say, right through the history of the world, there's been a lot of people that tried to make order in the world, to conquer the whole world, to teach the whole world. There was the philosophers, the Greek philosophers, and they tried to bring some sort of order into the world by means of their control or by means of what. And it could be that their intentions were really very good, but because they didn't use the Torah, so it always fell apart. Always fell apart. We see, especially in our generation, where the whole thing is basically education. You know, the communist idea is so just a wonderful, just promising idea. And then you have all these psychiatrists and these explaining what the essence of man is and how man is the Oedipus complex or the social complex or the archetypes or whatever it is. All these ideas are trying to make some sort of sense and unity in the world, and they're all doomed to failure. Because the only way that you can really fix up the world is through the Torah. Why? Because the Torah comes from God. The Torah is God's. And we see what happens. I mean, you can say, okay, it's all made up. The Torah doesn't come from God. So, okay, you've tried everything else. You see what the results are, right? You see what the results are. Nowadays, the people are making a religion from egotism. Egotism. Like I said before, there's no such thing as an atheist. There's only I-theists. People believe that themselves, they're God. Whatever I feel is right, whatever I think is right, right? I don't feel good, therefore it's not good. I saw there was one lady, she said she's going to sue her parents because they gave birth to her. She didn't want to get born. Well, life is terrible, it's a suffering, life is bad, right? And she's, you make up whatever you feel, that's what's reality. That's the world without the Torah. There's nothing absolute. Says the Rebbe, the only way you can fix up the world is through the Torah. B'chachma es beriro. Chachma is the Torah, what's called the wisdom of the Torah. Yesh Lomar, we can say, Shemitam Zed, that because of this, that's why Moses sent the Moragim, that's why he sent these scouts. Hatchalat Peticha Dibur, the Brira, this is the beginning of the refinement of the world and conquering the land of Israel. Why? And he sent it because in the month of Sivan, because the month of Sivan, that was the month when the Torah was given. The Torah was given on the 6th day of Sivan. This is a result of the time when the Torah was given, and the whole purpose the Torah was given is only to refine the world. The cave, and since the Jewish people in the Torah, there are two levels in general. There's what's called the unity of the Jewish people and of the Torah. And there's also the divisions of the Jewish people and the details of the Jewish people and the details of the Torah. As it's known that the Jewish people are Yisrael, the word Yisrael, these are the initials, Yesh, Shishim, Riboy, Osius, the Torah. There are 10,000 letters in the Torah. There are 600,000 letters in the Torah. There's a way to count them, because if you count just the letters, it comes out to be much, much less than that. But you have to count the punctuation. Anyway, that's what it says. That every single Jew has a letter, an individual letter in the Torah. Shemimeno, that from it is drawn the life of that Jew. Sha'al pi din, according to law. Tzorich aliyos, there has to be, every single letter has to be surrounded by empty parchment. If two letters touch each other, then that's disqualified. Sometimes you can just scrape away, sometimes you can't. Kol od b'fnei atzmo, every letter on its own. So the Jewish people, every Jewish person has to be separate from every other Jew. Everyone is unique. So it is with every human being. But together with this, Kol Samach Ribo also is all of the 600,000 letters which are in the Torah, and they correspond to the 600,000 souls of the Jewish people, are really only one. Torah, Echad, there's only one Torah. Sefer Torah, Shebekashrus, Toloi, just like a Sefer Torah, the whole thing depends on every single letter. If you have a Sefer Torah and one letter is missing, then you can't read from that Sefer Torah. There's different laws. Some people say you just can't read from that book, but generally the law is not like that. The law is that if you have a Sefer Torah and one letter is wiped out, then the whole Torah is disqualified until you fix that letter up. The same thing with the Jewish people. If one Jewish person is somehow or other missing, then the Jewish people are not there. Therefore, there's two ways in refining the world. That the world was created for the sake of the Jews. One way is refining the Jews in how they are separate from one, the divisions in the Torah and the Jewish people. And there's another one because of the unity of the Jewish people. How is this going to be? God willing, we'll talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, so we'll try. God willing. Okay. Now let us learn the Dvar Malchut. 1 minute. Let's see if I can do this like this. No. Do it like this. There we go. There we go. Oh. And now I go like this. 1 second. I go like this. This.